A report by the United Nations says the American dollar should be ditched as the main global reserve currency.
New kinds of money are popping up across mid-Michigan, and supporters say it's not counterfeit, but rather competing currency. NBC 25's Dan Armstrong investigates.
They sound like real money and look like real money, but you can't take them to the bank. That's because they're not made at a government mint, but rather private mints.
I sell at least 3 or 4 every single day, and then I get one or two back a week.
Dave Gilley, owner of Gilley's Coney Island restaurant in Genesee County's Genesee Township, also accepts silver, gold, copper, and other precious metals to pay for food. He says if he wanted to, he could accept marbles.
Do people have to accept dollars or money? No, they don't. They can accept anything they want.
He's absolutely right. The U.S. Treasury Department says the Coinage Act of 1965 says private businesses are free to develop their own policies on whether or not to accept cash unless there is a state law which says otherwise. A chiropractic office in Lapeer County's Deerfield Township allows creativity when it comes to payment.
This establishment accepts any form of silver, gold. You know, if someone works it out with me, I've taken many things.
Jeff Kachunian says he used this Ron Paul half-troy ounce of silver to get $25 worth of gas from a local station. While the government and banks don't accept them, many others do. Dan Armstrong, NBC 25 News.
For the last 25 years, the dollar has been losing value. But we also see that international investors, those reserve managers, central banks around the world, have actually been reducing the proportion of their reserves which is held in dollars.
Today we go deeper, discovering why these businesses say it's better to have private currency than actual U.S. legal tender.
Silver is pretty much always worth the same thing. I mean, even if you go back thousands of years, the amount of product that you could buy with an ounce of silver or an ounce of gold has always been pretty standard.
That can't be said of the U.S. dollar bill or U.S. coins made after 1964 that are no longer made with silver. Take a look at this chart from the U.S. Department of Labor. It says since 1913 until 2001, the U.S. dollar has lost 96% of its purchasing power. However, supporters of alternative currency say silver remains strong.
The metal, because it's a commodity, it's a precious metal, it's retained and or increased in value to today's dollar, which is deflated.
It protects you from the inflation that the paper money gives you.
The government says the bills themselves are worthless. The U.S. Treasury website says the notes have no value for themselves, but for what they will buy. Supporters of competing currencies say they'd like to see the government go back to a gold and silver-backed currency rather than simply printing more money.
If we did that, we could maintain the value of the dollar and we could protect. We wouldn't be in this economic collapse that we were in.
Never before have all the world's currencies been fiat currencies at once. There is no other place to run to protect your wealth from the confiscation that the governments are doing by printing more and more and more currency. People ask me about, well, what if they confiscate gold again? Well, they're confiscating your wealth by printing more dollars right now. Your wealth is evaporating out of your bank account and out of your pocket because they keep on creating more currency and it causes inflation, and this is just going to get worse in the future.
We think in the second half of this year, the underlying structural weakness of the US economy will come forwards. The United States is still borrowing double-digit percentage of GDP, and the jobless situation just simply doesn't get better. And we think that investors' attention is going to switch onto the negative side of the dollar.
And with all this currency being printed all over the planet, the next great bubble is destined to be precious metals. It absolutely is. As people rush back to precious metals to protect their wealth, they're going to drive this into a bubble the likes of which the world has never seen.